What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be going over 7.2, or Act 2, Book 1, Chapter 2, I guess. And these are my MVPs. So I have Human Torch first, Doctor Doom second, Magneto third, Archangel fourth, Ghost fifth. Sixth would be Hitmonkey, seventh, Havoc, and eighth would be White Magneto just for his pre-fights. So I'm going to be talking about them a little bit more on the paths and whatever, but let's just go over this. So quest 1, we have 3 bosses. Mole Man can be really easily done with Hitmonkey, Ghost, anybody who hits hard, and anybody who you can use to intercept. So even if that's Mole Man, use Mole Man for himself, sure. That would work quite well. This Magneto, I used Human Torch, but I know that Captain America Infinity War is also very good. Magneto, this is a Nick Fury or a Magneto fight. Some of the hard fights here, I mean, this Killmonger isn't exactly fun, but it's Foresight, so you can deal with it. Honestly, this was a pretty easy quest with the exception of this one lane right here. This lane was pretty irritating. Ignore Clapback for the most part, so don't bring in Human Torch. I made the mistake of bringing in Human Torch. That's not very helpful. I would bring in Ghost. If you have a second Ghost, bring in your second Ghost. And I would maybe bring in Torch to like burst down one fight, Black Widow, Clairvoyant. But basically, you just want to Ghost this whole path. And yeah, so that's quest 1. Let's go to quest 2 now. Quest 2, and we can look at the bosses first. So here we go. Quest 2. You have this boss. This boss is super easy. Tigra, Archangel, Torch, Captain America Infinity War, anybody who you feel like heavying with. I used Hitmonkey for some of them with the synergy, I believe it's with Daredevil Hell's Kitchen, that gives him 3 critical hits on his heavy. Anybody who you can heavy with, and this will be easy, just parry heavy. This fight, I also used Torch. Basically, I would just push him against the corner and just hit him in the corner. That's pretty much it. This fight can be really easily done with Ghost, but you have to have the Wasp synergy for unblockability. This can be really easily done with Doom as well. Just looking over the paths. I mean, this path right here is actually pretty difficult. Falcon doesn't circumvent it, and so you would need to use Archangel. So the best options for this are Archangel and or Get Superiority, and Dexterity 3 times, and then just keep that superiority up. But Archangel and or using a superiority champion. I mean, this path is fun. None of these paths were that difficult. This Airwalker is fun. I don't really love Airwalker, but it's Aegis Intercept, so you'll be fine. I basically just doomed this whole path right here, the inside path. And Magneto is really good for this path, the Power Snack path, because of this node, Outburst, you're going to become immune to Nullify, so basically just hang tight and you'll be fine with Magneto. Okay, moving on to quest 3. I have got these set of bosses. Let's look at the bosses real quick. I believe they're on the right side. I could be wrong, though. Okay. This first one, Critical Eye, I just used Hitmonkey. I also used Colossus Hitmonkey, and Colossus hit really, really good. Basically, anybody who has crit hits will basically get it exponentially multiplied, so Hitmonkey with just medium light dashbacks was phenomenal, but anybody who hits crit hits is good here. For this Hitmonkey, I used Archangel with the White Mag's pre-fight, and oh my goodness, this thing just melts. If you don't have that, you can use Torch with the pre-fight, and White Magneto. White Magneto helps this a lot because of Heavy Assault. You can also use someone like anybody who hits a hard heavy attack, literally anyone. But Archangel is by far the best, and you need the White Mags. This one's Surge Protector. This one's basically just play with the nodes. I believe I used Doom for most of this, but for the most part, it doesn't really matter who it is. Just play with this node, and you'll be fine. Let's go on to the paths and scout for any difficult ones. This path right here, redlining, it was fine. I just used Hitmonkey for that, but it doesn't really need a counter. Thorns damage. This one was a little bit irritating. I went ahead and just Archangeled this. I believe I did Magneto for this fight. Magneto for this fight. Archangel. Archangel again. Magneto, and I want to say that was probably Archangel. And there you go. That's all your ability accuracy. Fun stuff. Redlining was fine. For this, I want to say I used Clairvoyant instead of... Maybe I used Tiger. I used Tiger or Clairvoyant. Probably Tiger, actually. For this path, Energy Adoption, this was all Havoc and all Ghost. I brought in Human Torch. I don't think I used him for any of them, but maybe I used Torch for this fight. But Ghost and Havoc are your best friends for that. Oh, let's go down as well. We have got this path, Buffet and Safeguard and Aspect of War. I used Ghost for this, was super easy. Thinking about it, you could actually probably use Quake, that'd be a little slower, but Ghost is really, really good for this. Magneto is a little bit iffy, but could work theoretically. Probably someone like Sunspot. No, actually, no, because they go unblockable, so just Ghost is easily the best option here. Or Archangel, She-Hulk, and ignore the Aspect of War. This path is pretty easy, too. I just Hitmonkeyed this. I did Hitmonkey for a lot of it, because I had just rank 3'd him, and this is fun content. But anything I do Hitmonkey with, just use somebody who hits hard. Stacking power, I made a video on this, but Angela, Magneto, oh my goodness, so good. Alright, moving on to the next quest. We have got quest number 4. And let's see if I can find Boss Island really quick. And look over some of the options. Let's cheat and find Boss Island that way. So, for this one, the best options are She-Hulk and Red Hulk. But technically, what you can do is you can use Human Torch with the pre-fight and live off of the Power Sting damage. It's a little bit sketchy, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's definitely workable and it's fairly quick. But I would just run something like Red Hulk, maybe She-Hulk, if you want to get fancy with the Mr. Fantastic. This one is actually a really easy fight, the I-Bomb. I believe I took this one for every single other one. So what I did was I took each boss at the very beginning. The first thing I did, I took 3 paths of every single quest and took every single boss. And then I could kind of choose based on what team I was bringing with the path and just which boss was easiest, and I could take that one down. I took I-Bomb every single time because I believe he's the easiest with Ghost and with Hyperion. Those two absolutely slap him. One time, they both died, and I threw in Hitmonkey, and Hitmonkey did like 25% just playing quickly. So this one's not that hard, and worst comes to worst, you could like Corvus it down with like a couple revives. This one's a little bit annoying. But it's pretty much just a Nova, but irritating, and because he's aggressive, as you can see down here, he's always dashing with that thing you can't parry, and his heavy attack is a 2-hit one, and it's really hard to heavy counter and all this stuff. But Magneto works, Doom works, but Magneto's definitely your best bet here. Let's look at these paths really quick. Mercy, this is easily one of the most irritating paths. This is the only path in the entire 7.2 that I brought Quake for. For Mercy, I would suggest Quake and Archangel for 2 very, very simple reasons. They can shut it down. With Quake, what you want to do is you want to get 2 Mercy charges and then activate it by dexing back and just Quake your way down, Quake and parry, so you can get as much heavy concussion as you can, and it'll just go away, just never throw a special attack. With Archangel, it's the same thing. Just play normally and activate the Mercy whenever you can, and it will only re-trigger that damage reduction when you throw a special attack. So either throw a special attack and just do that really quick re-trigger where you have your neurotoxins up, you trigger Mercy, and the timer goes away. Or you can just do that once, never throw a special attack. Either way works perfectly, but Archangel and Quake are really good. If you have... I mean, honestly, that's enough for the entire path, but if you want to bring some sort of backup, you'd actually have to play with Mercy, which is always irritating. Let's look through these. Burden of Might, Destructive Feedback. Stark Spider-Man can cheese this entire frickin' lane. I didn't do it because I'm lazy, but Stark Spider-Man can do this really, really well. There are so many different people who can do this. This one's a pretty easy lane, just don't get hit. That sounds kind of obvious, but in this case, you'll die if you get touched. But Stark Spider-Man can cheese this if you want to. You can also Magneto this fight, and also Magneto this fight if you want to. Moving on to these 2 paths right here. Slumber and Flare. Hyperion, Magneto, and also the third one is Eye-Hulk. The problem with Eye-Hulk is that once you die, if your immortality is on cooldown, you will recoil yourself down to 1, and then Flare will kill you. Because even though you can't kill yourself with your mediums, you can take yourself down to 1 HP, and Flare will happily end it for you. So be aware of that, but it should be fine. This one is Deep Impact. This one's basically just oscillate and throw it into block. I use Doom for a lot of these, as well as I used Venom on this fight and this fight. This fight I played normally with Venom and just smashed him. In this one, I threw special twos, and this is the best part. I threw special twos when it was unblockable. Because I'm unstoppable. Because the first couple hits hit him, does more damage because it crits sometimes, it bleeds. He goes unstoppable. He's like, oh no, I need to block. He blocks, and he takes even more damage and gets that passive stun. So that was a really fun fight. If we go down to these last two paths right here, we have basically just, please don't stun me. I hit-monkeyed this, but basically all you have to do is just ghost it, hit-monkey it. Just hit them. Don't rely on parry. It's pretty simple stuff. Mixmaster. This one would be irritating if the people were difficult to deal with. I want to say I Falcon this, but I could be wrong. I Human Torch this because it was just simple. And then also there's that Counter-Strike thing, which if you don't use the Flame On, you could do that, but I actually used Flame On and it didn't matter at all. Incinerate Vulnerability, yeah, so I just torched a lot of this lane. I don't know where the other half is. See if I can find it really quick. I believe it's up here. So for this one, I used Magneto a lot. Because the superiority is underdog, so you're getting downranked. Downranked here, metal. Downranked here, metal. If we go over, you're going to notice that there are another downrank fight here, and guess what? He's metal. So not Human Torch, Magneto can downrank every single fight and also get that superiority. Now let's go back up here really quick. It's farther up, isn't it? The other part of that lane, which is the Mixmaster one, just torch it if you want to. Black Widow Clairvoyant works phenomenal as well. Okay, moving on to the next quest, and we have, I liked this one actually. Dragon Man is a pretty easy boss if you have Torch, and Magneto. So, let's go over the bosses really quick. This one isn't really that difficult. You can kind of just use Nick Fury. Just don't knock him down if you can avoid it, but just use Nick Fury. This one, anybody who can reliably put debuffs, so that's Nick Fury, just medium, that's 2 debuffs. Black Widow Clairvoyant, medium, that's 1 debuff, or a heavy, but it only counts as 1. It's the number of times you apply debuffs, not the debuffs. So if you were to hit him with Sunspot, and Sunspot had 8 solar charges or whatever, that'd still only be 1. 1 charge. So basically just someone who has consistent debuffs, doesn't matter the volume within each hit itself, but just do that and he'll kill himself. So just Nick Fury, parry, medium, parry, medium. Do that 5 times within a 30-second span, which is super easy, and he goes ahead and dies. This one is Human Torch, no pre-fight. I cannot emphasize that enough. I've tried it with and without the pre-fight just to test. Without the pre-fight is so much faster, so much safer. Magneto, be aware that when you armor break him, you will degen like crazy, and so do yourself a favor and try to kill him with that special 3. That sounds obvious, but, I mean, regardless, even if you take him down to like 20% or whatever, you can finish that off with whoever. Looking at the lanes really quick, this lane, honestly, the Steadfast buff is fairly irritating because you get all these combo party stuff, and if you were to dex, say, Sentry's Special 1, I believe that's 4 hits in a single blast, and bam, you just lost 4 cruelties. Kind of irritating, but basically what I did was, I want to say I magnetoed that, and I used Black Widow for that one. Basically, just bring counters to this path. This path is kind of irritating. I doomed that. I Nick Fury'd that, but that's an anything fight because he's so easy. What did I do for this one? I'm not sure. But basically, just bring as many counters as you can for the path, especially. You've got Mr. Fantastic, Airwalker, and Annihilus. Those are pretty difficult. We have got Missing in Action. I brought in Magneto for this Nebula and for the Ultron. And then I think I brought Torch and a couple other people. This is a pretty easy path as well. This path right here, I brought Magneto for every single metal fight. No joke. And then you have Havoc or you have Ghost for the other two. But could Torch do this fight? I don't know about that. So I would just Magneto everything, and if you can't, Havoc with the Despair Master, you could take down this Green Goblin pretty easily, and Despair would be your best friend for 1, 2, and 3 fights if you're using Havoc. Well, actually, I believe there was also some sort of like stun thing here. No, I could be wrong. Okay. Let's move on to this other path right here. Rage with Power Shield. I used Black Widow Clairvoyant. Pretty much no hits hit the damage cap, and if they did, buff immunity, just ignored it. You could Archangel this as well. Just ignore Power Shield. Just Archangel, 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 Archangel. That'll go really fast because of this node right here. Same mentality with something like Immortal Abomination. You could use Doom and just keep nullifying those Furies, but Black Widow Clairvoyant and Archangel is probably going to be really good. Even a Nick Fury would play really, really well with that. This lane right here, Surging Vengeance, basically, guess who I used for this Yellow Jacket? Magneto. And we have also received, who else? Venom Pool, I want to say, use Doom and Magneto for this whole path. Doom, Magneto, Doom with the Mr. Fantastic synergy, Doom, Magneto, because Doom, when you throw the special one, it'll steal too much power and it'll power lock you, but Magneto could work, you just wouldn't be able to throw specials. And I actually torched this fight. I turned on Flame On, parry medium, light, medium, and I prayed, and that did good. And if it didn't kill him, it would have almost killed him. I soloed this fight, but if it doesn't, it's going to get you very, very close, and you can just finish that off with someone else. But solutions for this fight, you have Doom with the Mr. Fantastic synergy, Magic, because you can just shut down. Oh, Magic doesn't gain power, so Magic would not work. Doom with the Mr. Fantastic synergy would work good for this. I know my friend used Omega Red for this, and that would work. There are actually a couple options here, but Venom is a good one as well. There are a couple more, and if you have questions with that, just DM me or something online. That's going to sting. For this one, I used Mr. Fantastic, She-Hulk, Human Torch. And that's probably going to be I think that was either a Torch fight or a She-Hulk fight, or maybe Captain America Infinity War. I used that as well. Captain America Infinity War for this one, She-Hulk for this one, probably Torch for that one. Captain America Infinity War. Basically, all you have to do is just parry with Captain America Infinity War, and then bait specials. For Torch, just hit him if you have the pre-fight, and or hit him if you don't have the pre-fight. She-Hulk, just parry heavy, and with Mr. Fantastic, that'll do the work for you. I believe that's every single path in this quest. This quest was the most counter-specific. And then we're going to move on to the 6th path, and then I'll have a little bit of a rewards overview. Not rewards, resource usage overview. So, this last path is obviously the one with the Gwen Master. We have this one, which is Heavy Assault, Encroaching Stun, and Foresight. You can play to either one, so if you just want to Ghost it, if you just want to Archangel it, Nick Fury, whatever, you'll be fine. This path is pretty easy. This one right here, oh, that was not what I wanted to look at. Special Connoisseur, this one's one of my favorite paths. You can use Ghost for this one and basically just build up the prowesses because they're permanent. Or you can use someone like Angela, because she just ignores Icarus at a fairly... her sig doesn't even matter. Just build up some prowesses, and you can just be immune to that. We'll save that path for later. Flare, basically just bring someone with an armor up. Easily the best option for this fight is, without a doubt, Warlock. The second option would have to be either a ramped-up Guillotine 2099 and or Colossus, because with Warlock, there are two ways to nullify Havoc. One is to have the armor up, and the second is to power drain him. So even when you are dashing back using the Dexterity Mastery to nullify your armor up and actually be able to deal damage, because the True Strike ignores these resistances, parrying or blocking his medium attacks will still power drain him, and therefore you can keep his plasma in check. you can do anything you want on this fight. Black Widow Clairvoyant is just so good because she can buff immune these, and then on top of that, she just hits really hard with Flare, and her special 2 can basically just ignore the degen. It'll just heal you all the way back up. Those are 2 really good options. You could do someone like Nick Fury. It doesn't really matter, is what I'm trying to say. You want a Havoc counter, ideally Warlock, Ramped Gilly, or Colossus. Someone like Black Widow Clairvoyant will make it cheaper if you mess up, but otherwise, just go through this fight. It's going to be super easy. You could use Ghost with a special 2 boost, or just Ghost if you wanted to. It would be fine. And then if you're going to take... Oh, I'm going to save that path because that one's probably the hardest one. There should be more on the left. So if I look at these, no retreat, no surrender, heavy assault. Just parry heavy this. Magneto. Probably Torch, actually. Or Archangel would all be good. This is the second hardest path. Maybe the third hardest path in Quest. I mentioned one earlier that I said was really hard. But this is difficult. This is what I would do, and I would almost make sure you had 3 selections for this. So I would do Torch with the pre-fight here, and just always throw your special as soon as you possibly can. Then I would bring White Magneto if you could, and if you bring White Magneto, I would do his pre-fight for this fight, and his pre-fight for... Where is it? Up here. And his pre-fight for this fight, so you could parry Annihilus. And his third pre-fight for whoever, who really... it doesn't really matter. But basically, you could just torch this whole lane, or you could ghost it. But I would torch this fight with the pre-fight, undoubtedly. And then I would go up here. Doom. You could also use Black Widow Clairvoyant, would probably hit even harder than Doom. But Doom was fantastic for this, basically. And then you could also just use Torch with the pre-fight if you have 2 torches or you just want to keep on dying and refreshing. But that works too as long as you have the White Mag's pre-fight as well to help you parry. Black Widow Clairvoyant is a really good option for this, though. This one, just get him down as soon as you possibly can. So that's a Torch fight or a Ghost fight, but probably a Torch fight. This one can be a Torch or Ghost fight as well. And then if we look at the other lane... I guess it's up here. Torch or Magneto, doesn't really matter for this one. This one's a Torch fight. So now let's go over the hardest lane, which in my mind is harder than the boss by a lot. And it's Mixmaster and Hit Me, I Dare You and Armored Assault. So I would use CGR. If you like CGR, just ignore it. Just use a power boost and just try to go as hard as you can. But Ghost is easily the MVP for this. Ghost is MVP, CGR can help you kind of ignore it, but Ghost is the best, and maybe second best option might have to be Archangel. And then finally, just this boss, I've seen there's lots of guides, so I'm not really going to go over it, but basically all you want to do is just follow the phases and pick somebody who has a lot of block proficiency, because attack doesn't matter. And then finally, if we're just going over my usage for revives, I spent 6 revives for the paths. These are my path breakdowns. It's not left to right or anything, but that's each path broken down on each quest. So I also spent, on my first try with the Grandmaster, this one is chronological, so it's in order. I have all this stuff down here, my MVPs, which I went over at the beginning, and it took me about 55 hours of real time, not how much time playing, and I actually still have energy refills left because I grind 5, 3, 6. So I hope you enjoyed this guide, and thank you for watching, and good luck.